Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Relika Roach and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 30th, 2020. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Dr. Anders Rudolph Samuel to address you. Minister Samuel, you have the floor. Minister Samuel, can you kindly unmute your mic?
Okay. Good morning, Rolika. Good morning, PM. Good morning to the media. Good morning to all the people of St. Martin who are following this press briefing. The graduates of the Sundial Milton Peters College VSBO St. Martin Academy on St. Martin have the possibility of continuing their education in St. Martin, in Aruba, Bonaire, Curaçao, the Netherlands, United States, or Canada. But they have to be aware of their options and what it takes to be successful. So the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports will be hosting a workshop entitled My PBL, PKL, and TKL Education and Beyond. This is to highlight the above mentioned. This workshop, which is the final workshop in the Thursdays Online with SSSD, will be held online on October 8, 2020 from 5 p.m. to 6:30 p.m. Many students in the voorbereidend secundair beroepsonderwijs, which is VSBO, or the preparatory secondary vocational education, PSVE, which is the PBL, the PKL, and the TKL, often need clarity about their options after graduating. The VSBO is offered at the Milton Peters College, the PBL, the PKL, and the TKL streams, and at the Sundial, the PBL and the PKL streams. PSVE is offered at the St. Martin Academy, the PSVE, PBL, and PKL streams. For many students or graduates of the VSBO/PSVE secondary schools on the island, the question is, what next after their education? And this poses a challenge. With this workshop, the Ministry of Education, Culture, and Sports is aiming to show these students that there are many study/educational opportunities for them. Students have to be determined and focused, as well have the aptitude to be successful and to complete the requirements at the next level. The workshop is open to students in the last 2 years of the PBL, PKL, and TKL sections and recent graduates. Parents are also encouraged to attend this workshop to get an understanding of what the options are for their children who are being educated in these systems. There are ways and means for these graduates to continue their studies if they wish, but all these different opportunities have specific requirements, and the graduate should be aware of these requirements. Attendance of this workshop will also be explained some of the technicalities associated with moving from vocational to academic education, as well as moving off island to study. Moving from one educational system may not be straightforward, but it is possible. It is up to the student to take advantage of what is there, and they do need to apply themselves. The My PBL, PKL, and TKL Education and Beyond workshop will highlight both opportunities to study in English as well as in Dutch. Students are encouraged to register in advance for the workshop so an invitation can be emailed to them. Students can also click on Join on the link of the Student Support Services Facebook page. If parents or students have any questions on these workshops, they can contact the Student Support Services Division at telephone number 543-1235 or Student Support Services at stmartingov.org. Additionally, I would like to announce the Department and Division of the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth and Sports met with all subsidized school boards and the Division of Public Education yesterday to discuss matters related to COVID-19 and education continuity. During the meeting, which lasted about 3 hours, parties were provided with a distance learning update. School boards were also provided with a status update in regards to education continuity. Although the current spread of the virus is not what we would like it to be at this moment, a decision regarding vulnerable students and the students in exam classes will be made and communicated to school boards by next week. All students within primary education of both public and subsidized schools, whose schools management have indicated are without a device to facilitate distance learning, will receive a device by the end of this week. That is all primary school students who have indicated such. The Windward Island Teachers Union has met with the Department of Education last week and have requested a meeting with my person, and a meeting is being planned to meet with the Windward Islands Teachers Union. I am to the end of my introduction and I will await any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel.
Or I might leave for the Ms. Roach, which I indicated. I might leave.
Okay, thank you, Minister Samuel. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, to address you. Minister Richardson, you have the floor.
Good morning, Honorable Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the press, Ms. Roach, and the listening and viewing public. This morning, I want to provide you with an update concerning a bomb threat that led to the evacuation of the police station and this section of the House of Detention. At approximately 10:10 p.m. on Monday, September 28, 2020, the St. Martin Police Force received an anonymous call informing of a bomb in the Phillipsburg Police Station. All officers on duty, personnel, and prisoners were immediately evacuated from the building. A thorough search was conducted by the Certified Explosives Recognition Team of KPSM. During the search, no suspicious item or items were found, and the building was deemed clear and safe by the team. Specific details regarding the content of the threat are not being released at this time. Additionally, members of the Detective Department has launched a full-scale investigation into the origin of the call. The police force hereby warns the public that this dangerous and illegal behavior will not be tolerated. It will be the focus of KPSM to seek the perpetrator of this criminal act and evidence will be presented to the prosecutor's office, which should lead to the prosecution of this culprit. Anyone having information regarding the bomb threat is asked to contact the detectives investigating this case. Contact numbers are 542-2222 extension 222 or the anonymous tip line 9300. The latter is, of course, free of charge. I continue to remind the public at large to remain safe by heeding to the necessary health precautions. Thank you very much for your attention, and I remain open for any questions from the press. Thank you, Alaika.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, for your opening remarks. As mentioned by Minister Samuel may actually leave to attend a funeral this morning. However, the media will be kept updated once we get to the question and answer session. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Public Health, Social Development and Labor, the Honorable Richard Panafleck, to address you. Minister Panafleck, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning to the Prime Minister and the colleagues of the Council of Ministers, the members of the media, and the people of St. Martin. As of yesterday, September 29, 14 additional persons have tested positive for COVID-19. 8 persons recovered, bringing the total active cases to 80. The total number of confirmed cases is now 659. 3 patients remain hospitalized at the St. Martin Medical Center, and 1 patient is isolated and being monitored. The number of deaths due to COVID-19 remains 22. Of the active cases, CPS are monitoring 76 people in home isolation. The number of people recovered since the first case surfaced on St. Martin has increased to 557. 196 people are in quarantine based on contact tracing investigation. To further control the spread of virus, CPS has tested 1,041 travelers arriving at the Princess Juliana Airport and 2,710 people through the community. Please note that we have retrospectively received negative results from the lab of 702 persons who were tested, which caused a sharp increase in the number of persons tested through the community. Lately, it's being reflected in the figures reported by CPS that persons are not coming forward to report their COVID status. We are urging the public to come forward and report to your general practitioner or call CPS at emergency number 914 and report if you have any symptoms which might be related to COVID-19. Furthermore, I would like to inform the public that as of yesterday, the COM have approved for the program concerning expansion of the CPS personnel that is very much needed with the situation of the COVID and in further preparation for St. Martin when it continue opening its board for the tourist industry. Also, the EISTP training program executed by the SMTF is also granted so that it can continue for the training program of persons that have lost a job and be better prepared for the future. The Inspectorate of VSA also has been instructed to conduct several investigations and to report back to me. One of these investigations is the much heard about in the media about the glucosometer. As soon as the report is finalized and brought back to me, I will inform the general public. I would like to thank everybody and remind everybody to still adhere at the protocols of the pandemic that we are in, to keep your social distancing, wear your mask, sanitize often, and avoid gatherings. I would like to thank you all. May God bless us all. Thank you, Ms. Roach.
Thank you, Minister Panafleck, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, to address you. Minister Edion, you have the floor.
Good morning to you, Verlaika. Good morning to my honorable colleagues, the media, and all of you viewing by the different forms of media. This week, we received a positive audit from the SRB, the government's accounting company, for unemployment and income support. This means that they evaluated the program and confirmed that it was running the way it was intended to. The purpose of SRP was to provide financial assistance to businesses that are severely affected and to create a social safety net for citizens who risk losing their jobs. The income support program includes income support to sole proprietors, vendor license holders, independent bus and taxi drivers who are facing revenue losses due to COVID-19. SRB had to undertake several administrative actions, including but not limited to determining if all persons that have received income and unemployment support received the amount of 1,150 guilders, and if their documents were sufficiently submitted. To determine if the rejected applicants for support were indeed denied due to non-compliance of the requirements. To determine if SMDF used and applied the stipulated criteria. To assess the SMDF manner of disbursement of funds from the programs. To separate if separate bank accounts were created and maintained for both programs, if the communication with applicants was thorough and detailed with the relevant information. In addition to that, I know the topic of the CFTA will be probably asked by one of the media houses, so I'll just address that in the meantime. We are still in the discussion with CFTA. We had a meeting this week again, or last week, and one of the issues that we are having is just fighting for our people, fighting for our civil servants, and attempting to reduce the cost-cutting measures that would affect salaries. Honestly, the back and forth with CFTA, it just coming down to that, in my opinion, that salaries, they essentially want salaries to be touched. We've looked at cutting everything from uniforms to phones to to everything, and it's still, they're not looking at as policies that affect the salary package. We are hoping to round this discussion up this week, and then also simultaneously finish the budget and have that sent to the Rapanavis and CFTA. Right, with that, the off my updates for today.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, the Honorable Ludmila De Wever, to address you. Minister De Wever, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning, Honorable Prime Minister, colleague ministers, members of the press, Ms. Roach, and the listening and viewing public. This morning, a brief update on the past week and the upcoming weeks. On Sunday, we celebrated World Tourism Day, and with that, even though it's past us, I would actually like to extend or applaud the Tourist Bureau for a tremendous job done over the years, and specifically for the work that they are currently doing to improve our tourism product by investing in our people through the various training programs. One of those training programs is being conducted. Part of it has already been taken place and will continue to take place by Training Professionals International Firm, or TPI. And what they will be doing is providing customer service trainings for tour operators, bus drivers, and across other ministries as well over the next 2 months. These trainings also, in addition to customer service, the trainings also include a comprehensive understanding of COVID-19 pandemic prevention, protection, and safety measures. TPI's main objective is to provide participants with the ability to adopt, apply, and showcase new and improved service standards in their day-to-day interactions with guests and customers, as stated by Dr. Natasha Gittens, the CEO of TPI. These trainings will commence in October and will continue through November. Part of the continued efforts of the Tourist Bureau is the Safe Seal. The St. Martin Tourist Bureau, along with the St. Martin Hospitality and Trade Association and Occupational Safety and Health Provider Network, collaborated on a seal acknowledging efforts to adhere to the lodging and business guidelines. By highlighting best practice companies, the organizations want to spread the word that St. Martin is making its best effort to be a safe destination. The standard provides to all parties assurance of the commitment to quality, safety, and healthy business practices. And what you will see as you go to hotels and various businesses and even on transportation is this Safe Seal eventually. I would like to recognize that the small businesses that received financial assistance through the Enterprise Support Project, and congratulations go out to the entrepreneurs Leslie and Shirley Bruce of Kenny's Car Rental and Management NV, as well as Stefan Habish Dowinger of ProContact as the first small business owners to receive direct financial assistance of the Enterprise Support Project. They applied via credits, and on Tuesday, September 29th, we're acknowledging the presence of NRPB Director, Mr. Claret Connor, Minister of Finance, and myself. Both Credits and Windward Islands Bank are processing several applications and welcome additional entrepreneurs to apply as well. In regards to commercial businesses violating closing hours, or in the update for the business hours, We will continue to have businesses close at midnight and also encourage mandatory mask usage, social distancing of 2 meters, and hand sanitization in these establishments. Any changes to opening hours will be decided on an individual basis with the companies. Controls will continue between the police and the inspectors of TEAP. And commercial businesses who fail to adhere to these measures will also face enforcement actions being taken against them in the following order: a verbal warning, a written warning, an issued fine levied, and eventual closure for a defined period of time via a ministerial mandate. The public is hereby reminded to adhere to the necessary precautions in order to eradicate the spread of COVID-19 on St. Martin. This is the only way to strengthen our economy and ensure that we can all return to as normal as possible. Thank you very much for your attention, and I am available for any questions.
Thank you, Minister Dewey, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Severa Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister Jacobs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. A pleasant good morning to my colleague ministers, the members of the press, Ms. Roach, and the crew of DCOM, as well as the listening and viewing public. And a great big thank you to all for joining us this morning. This morning, I would like to update that during the parliamentary meeting of Friday, September 25th, which continued on Monday last, our members of parliament made references to a letter from the State Secretary Knops, which had been sent to the second chamber. The contents of the letter pertaining to the progress of St. Martin's reconstruction, and the reconstruction particularly post-hurricanes Irma and Maria that has been authorized via the NRPB and the World Bank as trustees of the fund. State Secretary Knops accused the St. Martin government of opposing the reconstruction in his statements, or it was actually the headline. The government of St. Martin considers his statements to be detrimental to the relationship that we have been fostering, especially with all the players involved, and for purposefully, I believe, misleading the people of St. Martin and the world at large at this stage of some very difficult times for our country. I have seen similar movements in my sister countries of Curacao and Aruba, whereby a certain narrative is being propagated within the community. The people of St. Martin have been constantly updated as to where we are, what we're doing, and we all know that the use of the trust fund via the World Bank construct was the decision of the Dutch government at the time, even in the midst of a disaster. Emergency funds were disseminated to third parties, but there is absolutely no trust on the side of the Dutch government, which resulted in this vehicle being chosen. I believe the Netherlands, being a very experienced country and knowing the ways of the World Bank, should have foreseen that this would not have been the proper vehicle for an emergency. However, it was the one that was chosen. The government at the time agreed to this. The parliament at the time agreed to this. And this is where we are today. The processes I have learned, and learned even more so since being here in November, is a lengthy one from beginning to end. And we are where we are also. And this is knowing that we are a small country, a small island development state, just like the rest of the islands in the Caribbean, and that we as a small island naturally have a lack of expertise in certain areas. And the fact that we had just attained a country status where we were just starting to build certain areas. So the context of all of that seems to have been lost on the State Secretary. And though I appreciate all the bilateral assistance that we have received during this pandemic thus far, we still continue to feel the pinch of an attitude of mistrust from the Dutch government, which we have been doing everything to eradicate by doing our best to comply. However, the government of St. Martin is, again, doing everything to ensure that the recovery of St. Martin remains a top priority in the best interest of our residents. Despite the slow-moving projects, which several reports have been written about, The blame has been, pointed on both sides of the Atlantic, which I also reiterated in my statements to the Dutch Kingdom Council of Ministers, so which has all our ministers represented, our countries represented as well. So the establishment agreement, as well as the bottlenecks that St. Martin would encounter with its recovery in regards to the projects, is something the government of the Netherlands has been fully aware of from the beginning. Project execution and implementation also, as this was an imposed procedure on St. Martin, as I stated earlier. It is clear that these mechanisms used to manage emergency funds was definitely not the best choice. And to sit at this point and continue to make statements such as we are opposing it, I believe is erroneous. And I will be responding to the State Secretary in kind. I will also be responding to or ensuring that our Parliament receives important information related to this in writing as well. Just to update the public, on Wednesday, September 9th, I met with a steering committee whereby the Netherlands, Dutch government, our government, and the World Bank is represented. And the committee expressed their contentment with the commitment of the government of St. Martin. They have noted a marked increase in meeting criteria, and they look forward to the decrease in the COVID-19 cases, which they knew also negatively impacted our progress over the past few months, as it did all over the world. In order to finally, and they look forward to attending their first meeting on the island since the pandemic. It should be noted that, again, we as government remain committed to the execution of the projects under implementation and those under preparation, and we look forward to prioritizing the other projects that are still to be allocated. We have also ensured to identify several focal points within each ministry, and as such, the representatives of these ministries are consistently working together and cooperating with the project teams on the leadership of their ministers as well, and in close conjunction with them to ensure the execution and the implementation of the much needed projects. When there is an issue, it is highlighted and addressed as soon as possible. So I hope to have alleviated the concerns of the people who would have wanted to follow that narrative. And I now move on to the next topic, which is that of the unions. The Council of Ministers has made several attempts, and I must reiterate this, despite some social media aspects I've been hearing over the past few weeks. We have been, over the past month and even longer, been attempting to meet with the CCSU and its membership, and particularly with the Secretariat of the CCSU, for whom it had become a bit of a concern of ours that their impartiality may be coming into question. And we wanted to have a sit down and discuss this. Our last attempt was some 2 weeks ago, whereby the CCSU, whose role it is to serve as impartial mediator, rejected the attempt for this meeting, which was to be on September 11th, informing us that same day that they would be awaiting the mediation hearing at the Ombudsman, which they had gone to make a complaint. And this meeting, so instead of meeting on September 11th, they preferred to wait until a meeting could be scheduled, and this has been scheduled for October 2nd. So it was definitely a surprise for us, and unfortunate that we were informed yesterday as COM that on September 29th, 2020, yesterday, that there is a convening of a meeting in Parliament today on September 30th with the WICLU and the CCSU unions prior to this same hearing, which is to be this week. I find this unfortunate indeed and counterproductive to us finding solutions, as I, as Minister of General Affairs, as well as the entire Council of Ministers, have been meeting several times between the months of May through August, and we remain willing to meet to resolve whatever misunderstandings there have been created with the various letters that have been going back and forth. I must say, for us as government, it has been disconcerting, to say the least, to have thought we had an agreement and only then to be receiving letters referring to older discussions that we had already bypassed. And in fact, we had made a commitment specifically to the WICLU, that we would engage them in regular meetings. And they have also sent letters asking for that, which we have reiterated. I must say, the maelstrom of correspondence only served to convolute the matter even further. And for us, it was important that we sit down face to face and have discussions, because especially during these discussions, which were mediated at the time by the CCSU, we were able to come to some agreements. I will be updating the Parliament of St. Martin in writing, in order that the representatives of St. Martin can be properly informed of both sides of the story, because I have not been to Parliament in the past, let's say, couple of weeks to update. So I remind them of the update they already received and update them as to where we stand today, and to also concur that we remain open to continue to have open and transparent discussions with our stakeholders, as that is key to us being able to move St. Martin forward, especially in this precarious time. I think instead of fighting each other, we should be working together in the best interest of our people, and we stand ready to do so. 10-10-20. As most will realize, we are in the month of October as of tomorrow, and on the following week, Saturday, St. Martin will be celebrating its 10th, or I should say commemorating its 10th year as a country within the kingdom. It comes at a very ticklish time, I must say, but most definitely we must as a country stop to reflect and look back, look at where we are today, and plan for the next 10, 20, and 30 years as to where we want to be. I would like for all of us to reflect on the challenges we have faced, what we have overcome, but also the challenges we still have to face in the coming months, or I should say days, weeks, months, and years. I would like for all of us as well to understand that we are definitely not defined by our challenges, and we will be defined by how much we have overcome them, as we have in the past. This decade, in my view, has been, despite it all, a decade of victory for St. Martin, one of resiliency and one of national growth. Of course, there is still a lot to be done, and that is why we are here, and we are determined to do it together with all the stakeholders. We will continue as government to foster and guide this process, even in the darkest times, because it is in the darkest times that we see a light that can shine and that can bring this country to where we are, or where we need to be. The celebrations that we have planned will highlight the historical process of coming to where we are, and this will be brought via DCOM to you in your homes, live stream. There will also be on Saturday a small live, on the 10th itself, a small live celebration at the courthouse that is being spearheaded by His Excellency the Governor. We will be collaborating in a small way there, but it will be a very small and intimate celebration, seeing that, of course, our COVID-19 situation does not allow for large gatherings. Further information will be given as to what will be done on October 12th, which is the first or the second Monday in October, when we usually celebrate 10-10-10, the attainment of our separate status within the kingdom. Despite what may be going on, despite the challenges we have faced and continue to face, once we have life and breath, we can always move forward, and it is always opportune for us to stop, reflect, and actually learn from whatever mistakes have been made in the past, and exactly grow. Use what we have been dealt with to grow. So I'd like to encourage the general population of St. Martin to tune in that day. We will continue to bring the educational aspect as the month of October continues, so it will not be a one-day affair. And especially the youth of St. Martin, those who probably have no clue as to what is the Netherlands Antilles and what we were prior to October 10th, 2010, will get an opportunity to learn a little bit more about where we were, what had to happen for us to get to 10-10-10 and where we are today and where we would like to go. I think especially the discussions, especially panel discussions of that nature, we are looking to collaborate with USM to, after the October 12th celebrations, we will then commence a series of discussions that will engage the youth, engage stakeholders in terms of where do we go from here. So I look forward to that day, and I ask you to look out via our social media pages, etc., for the detailed information as to the celebration of the 10th anniversary decadal growth for St. Martin, and to, within your hearts, find ways to celebrate in your own small way as well. Even though the Minister of VSA and Teyat, especially also Finance, have spoken, I'd like to encourage the people of St. Martin that we want to be able to continue to break the curve, flatten it, bring it down, and it is by our own behavior that we will be able to do so. So you've been learning over the month. Let's keep up with it. Do not get complacent. We do not want to have to go backwards at any point. We must move forward as a country. I would like to encourage you to build an idea of what you would see for St. Martin for yourself in the future, and let us all work toward it as we, as the government of St. Martin, continue to work towards building the multi-pillar economy that we all need to be able to afford maximum growth and opportunities for our people so that we can move to the next level bit by bit. Let nothing stand in the way of our dreams, because St. Martin is definitely a place where we can achieve our dreams. Continue to be blessed, stay safe, and I look forward to any questions from the media. Thank you, Elika.
Thank you, Prime Minister Jacobs, for your opening remarks. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 30th, 2020. Before we begin, the Minister of Romi, Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, is present, however, will not be making any opening statements, but is available for any questions the media may have. We now move on to the question and answer session. Judy Fitzpatrick of the Daily Herald, you have the floor.
Thank you, Relika, and very good morning to all the ministers present and everyone in the forum. I see that Minister Samuel is still there. Is he open for questions? Because
Yes,
you said earlier he would have.
Yes, Judy, you
okay.
may proceed.
Thank you. Minister, do you have any updates to provide us regarding the reopening of schools? And once reopened, what the specific protocols will be? Because I noticed that the COVID numbers have gone down significantly, even though it's still a little high. Any information on this?
Thank you for the question. As I have mentioned in my opening statement, there have been meetings last week with the department together with the stakeholders, and then I mean the school boards of the subsidized schools and the Division Public Education, so all the public schools, in order to discuss the present situation regarding education continuity. I have been looking at the information that I have, and as I stated, a decision will be made in regards to the vulnerable students and also the exam students, and this decision will be communicated with the school boards next week.
Thank you, Minister Samuel. Thank you, Judy, for that question. I would like to inform the members of the media as well as the listening and viewing public that the Prime Minister Jacobs is also left and will be paying her respects at the same funeral as well. So Prime Minister is currently not in the meeting. I would now like to invite Stephen Cyrilin of PJ82 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning to you, concerned ministers, my colleagues as well. My question is for the Minister of Education. The CXC results are in, and we have heard from various education ministers and ministries and or ministers from throughout the Caribbean region protesting the outcome. In fact, following mounting pressure from teachers, students, and parents, the chairman of the Caribbean Examinations Council, Professor Sir Hilary Beckles, announced that a team will be employed to review its 2020 results. First of all, Mr. How many students sat the exams on St. Martin? And B, what percentage of students successfully did so?
Thank you, Stephen, for the answer. Stephen, I received the email this week in regards to the CXC students and all the students that sat the exams and all the breakdown and how many male, female, and the different type of subjects. I also followed the news that is coming out of the Caribbean in regards to the objections that are being levied and all the reports and queries that are planned. At this moment, Stephen, I have not completed my evaluation with the ministry involved, and I cannot give you more than that for now, but in the week upcoming, I will have a total analysis of the situation of St. Martin, which I will make available.
Thank you, Minister Samuel. Thank you, Stephen, for the question. Bibi Shah of SMA News, you have the floor.
Good morning. I think I heard you said the Minister of Romy is in the meeting. If he's there, Minister Doran, I'm sounding like a broken record, but we are, in another day, will be the 1st of October. The management of GEBE, their contract expires the end of October. Has there been a decision taken by the Council of Ministers for the selection of the 3 persons that will be replacing those as management? And do you believe that the screening and sending this to the Corporate Governance Council and all of that will finalize? The whole procedure, will it finalize for the end of October?
Good morning to the people of St. Martin. Thank you, Bibi, for your question. With respect to the process is ongoing. If it will be completed before, I can't say in advance, but one thing I know for sure, there's always a solution for every challenge that we might face, and there's always a plan B with respect to that. So there will be no point in time that GEBE will be left without a management. I hope to have answered your question.
Can I get a follow-up, Minister? Is there a possibility that government might again extend the contract for the current board if this process is not completed?
As I stated again, I would not like to comment on the status of the process and what we might or might not do without discussing with the colleague Council of Ministers, but there will be no point in time that GEBE will be without a management team, or management for that matter. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Duran. Thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. You have the floor.
Good morning to the people of St. Martin and the ministers that are present here today. Well, I am requesting that in this broadcast that I'm asking all the ministers to say something. For this reason, the people are waiting on you guys to tell them something good. But the point is, my question today, let me just go right in my question today. To the Minister of Justice, recently you spoke about the repatriation of people in the immigration apparatus. Minister, some people are saying now, if your ministry legalized people, which is over 60,000 and more illegal people on the island, and finance can be raised to help the economy of St. Martin, seeing that we are in a financial crisis. What's your take on this matter, Minister of Justice?
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your question. Interesting number, 60,000, wow.
And more.
And more. Okay, thank you. As I had indicated when the announcement was made, the Department of Immigration is taking the necessary steps to evaluate applications in a very humane and professional manner. It might be public knowledge at this point that I have had a compliance department to support the process installed at the Immigration Department. And this department's significance is to be able to ensure that they lend support to the intake and advice departments that exist, ensuring that proper procedures are followed to evaluate applications, and wanting to identify those persons that are on the island that have been seeking to register and be legal on the island in the proper manner. This is not a process that will happen overnight, and I have a very strong immigration team. We're getting ready to establish a task force within the immigration. We have developed a covenant with the Ministry of VSA and the Labor Department, and we are doing all means and measures necessary to be able to develop a process that is going to be beneficial to those that have made St. Martin their home, but St. Martin in totality. When we talk about, seeking for persons to be contributing to the island financially, we also have to look at our job market and ensure that all persons that are supposed to be here are able to acquire the jobs first, and then we can look at everyone else subsequent. These are all factors that play a serious role in the decision making, in the evaluations, etc. But I assure you, we are ensuring to take these steps and measures in the most humane manner, and we will continue to do so gracefully. I hope I've answered your question, and I remain available. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Richardson. Thank you, Lyndon, for the question. I would now like to invite Jeffrey Sokran of Idle 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you, Relika, and thank you to all of the members of the media that are here, and certainly good morning to all the members of the Council of Ministers that are here. Mr. Richardson, it's nice to see you back, and I hope you are feeling well.
Thank you. Absolutely.
My question this morning is for our Minister of Finance. I couldn't help but take note of the positive report that was received from the SOAB, the review of both the SSRP and the income support and the unemployment support. Those are all great things. Will the report be made available to the public? When can we see it and read it? I think if it's a positive report, I think people will be very interested in seeing it. And it would also be really interesting, I think, for all of us to be able to kind of look at the trend as it relates to the support that is being received by businesses through SSRP or the unemployment support or the income support programs over time. Will numbers be published where we can see how many people have applied, who's been approved, how many have been approved, how many have been denied? And can we look at that as over a period of time so that we can see the trend and how the trend is headed? It would also be very interesting to look at some of those numbers on a comparative basis, not just month to month, but year over year, from an unemployment perspective as well. So will the positive report be released, and can we start to see some of the details and how we're trending with the social support and assistance programs?
Thank you for your question, Dr. Sock. The report has been sent to all the published media, so everyone that published articles and so forth. So the full report has been sent. It has also been sent to the Council of Ministers and to the members of Parliament. So I will have to check with DCOM, but it has been sent to the published media. A condensed version will be up on the website of the SRP by Friday, so that you see there. In addition to the numbers for the income support, unemployment support, payroll support, those numbers are published every month on my page and on the government page. What I will be doing is I could probably on Friday publish all the numbers on one slide, for example, and have it published on the same outlets. But they have been published every month.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sock, for the question. We now move on to the final round of questions. Judy Fitzpatrick, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Rolika. I have two questions. The first one is for Minister Irian. Minister, last week you mentioned some quite exorbitant figures as it relates to the phone taps in government over the last 5 years. Can you indicate what exactly is the solution to bring this down, as well as the solution to bring down the gas bonds? When will this go into effect, and will there be any penalties for persons who go over their phone tap once this goes into effect? And my second question is for Minister DeWeaver. I understand that St. Martin is currently working on a plan to offer COVID-19 medical insurance. Can you update us on the details thus far of this and when it will take effect?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Judy Fitzpatrick. Yes, I did mention the numbers over the last few years. And I must say that this year, since the COVID-19, it has been reduced a lot. How we plan to tackle this? As of October 1st, at least 95% of civil servants will be transferred to a prepaid system. So we have been working with Telem for the last week and a half, 2 weeks on this. Telem is building a script for us so that we could top up persons from within the building. Also a system that we can monitor calls in terms of how much data has been spent, how much minutes have been spent per month on a monthly basis. So we can have data to compare and so forth. As I said, this goes in effect as of October 1st. Which will reduce our cost to about maximum 50,000 guilders for the civil servants within the government building. We're also working on a solution for the Justice Ministry. And we should see, based on my current, I would say, estimates, again, these are estimates that we just did about a day or two ago. We should see a reduction, a savings of at least $1 million more next year by implementing this. The gas bond policy, what we're doing now is looking at a system where every person that has access to a vehicle will get a card, basically, that will be, it's basically a top-up system. So there will be a predetermined amount on the card, so persons cannot go over this amount per vehicle. And again, it will also be tracked. So on a monthly basis, we can extract the data and track vehicles. We could make comparisons on why this vehicle in this ministry is driving way more than using more gas than this one and so forth, which again, we will see significant reductions in spending, in my belief. The thing is, and I was explaining the calm, like once you make persons accountable, or once persons know that you are watching and they will be made accountable, you will see the abuse go down. What we see or have seen within the last 5 years is a lack of accountability in many areas. And as the Minister of Finance in charge of liquidity support, in charge of liquidity for government, and in charge of finances in general, what I have done is I've tasked my staff to look at areas within government where we see a lack of accountability that affected us negatively financially, and where we could improve operationally to increase, one, our revenues and decrease our expenses. And we have done this within every ministry. So I've worked closely with the Ministry of General Affairs to look at the phone policy, the gas policy. We're also looking at facility management in general, the requisition system. We've looked at ICT and going more digital. We've had discussions with basically every VROMI on the building permits, domain affairs. So the Ministry of Finance basically is looking at every ministry and basically creating small teams with tasks on reducing expenses and creating revenue.
Thank you, Minister Weaver.
Thank you, Ms. Roach, and thank you, Ms. Fitzpatrick, for the question. Since May 2020, I have been in discussion with various companies on providing insurance for incoming visitors. And one of the requirements that I had was that it would include medevac. And up until the point of 3-4 weeks ago, it was not an option to include a medevac, which is the primary concern, especially for our visitors coming from North America. And I'm happy to announce that the system is absolutely ready to go live. It is based on the program that Aruba had. We are just waiting on a couple items to streamline and for a presentation to come to COM. And I would like the public to be aware that one of the requirements I had was that every insurance company registered to do business on the Dutch side was included in the pool of insurance companies to add into the program that Aruba started. The bigger the pool is in terms of the visitors, the cheaper it is. So it's significantly cheaper than when it first started in Aruba. I cannot divulge the details of it now until we sign off on it, but we won't expect it to go live until sometime at the end of October, possibly. But it is there, and we are looking at a separate requirement for North America versus Europe. So that is it. Thank you for the question.
Thank you so much. May I ask a question?
I'm sorry, Judy, I'm sorry, we do have to continue. I would like to ask that you do send that follow-up in writing to the minister's cabinet, but given the time, I would like to provide the other members of the media with the same adequate time that you received. I would now like to invite Stephen Cyrillian of PJD2 Radio. You have the floor. Also, members of the media, the Prime Minister is also back in the meeting with us. Stephen, you have the floor.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. My question is for the Minister of TIAT, but before I get to the Minister of TIAT, I need to remind the Minister of DSA that last week he was quizzed as to how many persons have been made unemployed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. That information he was supposed to have provided today is yet to do so. Let me get to the Minister of TIAT, Minister De Wever. You recently had a virtual meeting with the Right Honorable Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley. I think that meeting took place on Wednesday, September 16. Can you enlighten us as to the nature of your discussion?
Thank you, Mr. Cyrillian, for the question. We have ongoing, I am the chairman of the Dutch Caribbean Cruise Task Force. And the Cruise Task Force is chaired by PM Motley of Barbados. So there are 5 countries representing Dutch-speaking, English-speaking, independent, Spanish-speaking territories in the Caribbean. And what we are doing is streamlining the guidelines in order for us to open up to the cruise industry. One of the ways that we can expedite this is by ensuring everyone has across the region the same requirements coming in, and that is being done in conjunction with the cruise companies. So there are weekly meetings with the other Caribbean islands, as well as weekly meetings with the cruise sector. So there's a lot of reporting back and forth to ensure that everyone is agreeing to the requirements for us to open to the cruise sector. I do not have an exact date, but what I can say is that there was a reversal of the restriction by CDC recently announced, and today I have a meeting with the cruise industry at 11:45, and I will have more details again after that. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister De Wever. Thank you, Stephen, for the question. I would now like to invite Bibi Shah. You have the floor.
Yes, thank you, Zuleika. Minister De Wever, can you tell us exactly how much it costs government or whoever is spearheading this for the training that will be conducted by TPI?
The training you're asking me the cost, Ms. Hodgshaw?
Yes, for the
Sorry,
TPI training.
The exact amount I cannot disclose, but I will tell you that the training is for over 1,000 persons once it's done. It's a training that we should have been conducting over the years to ensure that our customer service standards are up to par. And now that we have a COVID-19 training that is required, that is there. And I would actually like to clarify that one of the requirements that we have as a country to open to the cruise sector is ensuring that we have a training standard that is very high when it comes to COVID-19. And I've actually shared the video that was created by TPI for us to give to the cruise industry, as well as to share in this cruise task force that is chaired by PM Motley. And the response that I have received from the over 300 taxis that have done it to date has been extremely positive, because over the years, we possibly neglected our ambassadors, and right now our focus is to empower all of our people that are involved in the hospitality sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Thank you, Bibi, for the question. I would now like to invite Lyndon. You have the final question.
Final question, but big question. Prime Minister, you know, I will not leave you go without you answer this question. And also the Minister of Finance. You need to let the people know what is the stand of St. Martin Finance. But before you come in, Minister of Finance, let me engage with the Prime Minister. Prime Minister, the question is, what Mr. Konaps is really thinking, Minister? Because just after Ilma, St. Martin had to receive $550 million euro. But now we are hearing the statement from Mr. Konaps that it's a fault of St. Martin why the funds stay so long, Minister. There are evidence that St. Martin, the government of St. Martin, did not went short on this fund. It was the Dutch minister's government that bring in the World Bank and the money. So, Minister, what you will want to say to the people of St. Martin to clear this up? Because Mr. Konaps always causing a stigma on St. Martin. Do Mr. Konaps have a personal problem with St. Martin? Go right ahead, Prime Minister.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I cannot speak to the mindset or what the State Secretary is thinking. I can only deal with what is stated and the letters that we receive, as well as the cooperation or lack thereof. I think over the years, it has been easy, and then we've had very vocal members of Parliament in the Kingdom Relations Committee who have had a lot to say about St. Martin and the other Caribbean countries within the kingdom. We have had few who were defending or giving the full story. When there is a situation, I can even remember way back in the 80s when I was there, you would see a information session on the television in the Netherlands. It's always about the poorest sections, or it's always about the negativity of the island. What I know for sure is that St. Martin can come back from this. Prior to COVID-19, we were on our way to being economically in a better place than we were the years before, despite the lion's share of that trust fund not having made its way fully into the community. Again, as you mentioned, and as I elucidated in my opening statements, we did not choose for this vehicle that we are now driving, which is the World Bank procurement procedure, as the trustees of the fund which the Netherlands chose. They have an agreement with the World Bank. If they are unhappy with the procedures, then that is something that they have within their purview to change. We have been saying this for several years. The NRPB has gotten the brunt of the negative backlash here on St. Martin, but now we see now that the guns are being pointed at the government itself, whilst we knew from the onset that there was a lack of capacity at government. So that's why I'm saying it is with knowledge of our incapacities or our shortcomings that this format was chosen, whereby you would still have to liaise with government to be able to get the contracts done. several of the, let's say, ministries in the Netherlands are working together with our departments. So there is assistance being had, and the speed or lack thereof is also contingent on how quickly we can get that assistance. So I thought that I brought that out clearly, our gratitude as a country for those, for the assistance that we do get, whether it is for emergency or whether it is for technical support to get legislation moving or other technical support as has been promised to the Ministry of VROMI, because we recently lost someone who was a key player in that area as well, or more than one actually, since the election. So these things continue to be fluid, and as you lose a key employee here or there, then you have to request assistance again, because then your hands are tied. If you can remember, since 2010 and becoming this country, we have been constrained in being able to hire our needs due to having budgetary constraints. When the budget is cut, and as you can see, even now with our latest liquidity support conditions, we are being told cut into our personnel expenditures. If you do not invest in the personnel, you need machines, yes, you need policy, but who is going to write the policy? Who's going to work on the legislation? Who's going to execute whatever the decisions is? Who will the people at NRPB be liaising with? It is employees of government. So when you tell us cut in your expenditures, and specifically on the personnel side, you are hurting. When you do not give the capital investment that has been subscribed, or has been issued since 2019, which you are by law obligated to subscribe to, you are also contributing to the lack of progress in certain areas. And specifically where that capital investment is concerned from 2019 in the area of the upgrades to the tax department and the digitalization of our finances, as well as the much needed design, etc., for the prison. So while there is some talk, I don't think the full story is being given. And as I mentioned in Parliament, the headline and what was in the content of the letter, if persons take the time to read the content of the letter, there was one line in it where he mentioned opposing, which I disagree with, but the rest of the letter pointed out the things that he had been updated on up to that point. And there is another update that will go out to him no later than today regarding a letter he had sent in the first week of September, I believe on the 7th, requesting an update regarding the way about the reconstruction of St. Martin. So the people of St. Martin just need to ensure that they're weighing the facts and not be swayed by the rhetoric. Thank you.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Minister Edion.
I just have to make one correction from Prime Minister. The Prime Minister mentioned that St. Martin can come back, and I'd like to say St. Martin will and is coming back. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for that addition. I would now like to inform the members of the media the floor is closed, and thank you for taking part in this morning's press briefing. Once again, any further questions can be directed to the Minister's Cabinet directly if they were not made available this morning. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, September 30th, 2020. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Cable TV, Channel 115, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and the YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, log on to the official government's website at stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Relika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.